It was a late spring afternoon in Atlanta, Georgia, when Hannah Payne's split-second decision would send her life spiraling out of control. The 21-year-old property manager was driving home from work a little after 6 p.m. when she witnessed a shocking crash at the intersection of Clark Howell Highway. 62-year-old Kenneth Herring drove his red Dodge Dakota pickup straight through a red light and smashed into the side of an 18-wheeler tractor-trailer. While Kenneth's vehicle suffered some front-end damage, the truck-trailer seemed fine and neither driver was seriously harmed. Upon witnessing the accident, Hannah quickly pulled over and rushed to the scene. There she met an off-duty correctional officer who had also witnessed the accident. He called 911 while Hannah checked on the rattled drivers. 20 tense minutes passed without police arrival, so Hannah and the off-duty officer began to grow concerned and they both placed follow-up calls to 911.
And there was just an accident. I'm sure they've already called. It's a red Dodge pickup truck. I think it's a Dakota. And a semi was involved. And the red Dakota ran the red light and slammed into the side of the semi.
Oh, okay. And what's your name?
My name is Hannah, Hannaa.
We had a call earlier, and it's been over like 20 minutes now, and no police or no ambulance have shown up. The reason why I'm asking them because this the driver who caused the accident. I think he's impaired. Something's going on with him. And then he's moving his ears. He's going to drive off now. He's driving off. Take a picture of the driver light. Take a picture quick. Did you get a picture of the driver light? That's tag. Oh, man. Let's get out the road. Get out the road. Now, the other driver who was and she's going to take a picture of the vehicle. If I was in uniform, I would have took a picture, but I didn't. Hoping that the lady in the Jeep was almost in the incident, so she turned around and she went after him. So she's going to take a picture of his vehicle and stuff.
While still on the call with 911, Kenneth Herring got back into his vehicle and started to drive away from the scene of the accident. 21-year-old Hannah, who suspected that Kenneth was intoxicated, decided to pursue him in her own vehicle. Hannah's decision to intervene herself would soon threaten her future in ways that she never anticipated, with Kenneth dying of a gunshot wound and Hannah being charged with his murder.
911, what is the location of your emergency? Yes, ma'am. I'm on Clark Howell and Forest Parkway, the intersection. I actually called about 20 minutes ago for an accident, and no one has shown up yet. But I am under the impression that the guy that caused the accident, who ran the red light, is drunk. And he's gotten back in his car, and he's looking like he's trying to drive away. Okay, can you get his tag number? Hold on, he's driving away. It's a red Dakota. Hold on. Okay, so he is going west, down Clark Howell. No, Fort Parkway. Okay, but you couldn't get a tag number? No, but I'm catching up to him right now. Okay, then we actually do not want you to chase him. We just want you to be safe. I understand. I understand 100%. I'm just going to get the tag number, nothing else. But I'm going west down Forest Parkway. Okay. It is a Georgia tag. License plate is RHA as in Apple 4859.
So, if you can go back to that location where the incident happened, and because someone is actually on the way to you guys now.
Okay, well, there's a police officer there, but he is drunk. I'm sorry, but I'm here to tell you I'm not going to follow him. Because he is going to cause another accident. So I won't stay behind him until an officer can get to us, but until then, I'm not moving.
Yeah, no, that's what I want. I want you guys to go back to the location where it happened, and an officer will be out there momentarily, okay? Follow him. Okay, you got the tag number.
After chasing down Kenneth Herring for over a mile, Hannah finally caught up to him at the intersection of Forest Parkway and Riverdale Road. As he slowed to make a turn, she sharply cut off his path by pulling her Jeep across his front bumper at an angle and trapping him in, apparently to initiate a citizen's arrest until police could arrive. Eyewitnesses watched in disbelief as Hannah stormed toward Kenneth's window, screaming at him to get out of the vehicle. But as she reached his vehicle door, things would drastically escalate even further. According to Hannah's later courtroom testimony, as she stood beside Kenneth's pickup demanding he get out, he reached his arm aggressively out of the window and grabbed at her shirt and wrist. She said that she then became panicked at his sudden attack, so she drew her handgun from its holster, hoping to scare him off. This, however, had the opposite effect, and Kenneth tried to wrestle the gun away from her. The scene morphed into frenzied madness, and suddenly a shot went off. According to Hannah, it was Kenneth who pulled the trigger and injured himself.
Who got shot? Who shot him? Yeah, give me that. Did you give me other guns in the car?
No, I don't.
All right. Yeah, let me get that. Let me get that. Oh, you ain't good, right? 1228. Oh, my God. 1228, Carl. You're right,
Within minutes, police and paramedics arrived at the scene. Kenneth was rushed to the hospital, but despite life-saving efforts, the grandfather and father of two could not survive his traumatic injury. He died in hospital a short while later, leaving his family devastated. Meanwhile, back at the scene, police officers arrested Hannah and took her in for questioning. She could scarcely string sentences together to explain why she felt compelled to chase down a stranger and take the law into her own hands. She insistently told detectives that she had never intended actual gun violence, and that the only reason she followed Kenneth's car was to stop him from hurting anyone else because he was intoxicated, and she needed to get him off the road. In Hannah's story, she was a hero keeping a dangerous man off the street, but as investigators uncovered the troubling evidence, her account would take a shocking, credibility-crushing turn, not in her favor. The evidence that started to emerge showed that Kenneth Herring had no alcohol or intoxicating substances in his body at the time of the shooting. His family and the paramedics at the scene would also later reveal that it was likely that Kenneth was having a diabetic episode at the time of the accident, and that he was simply trying to drive himself to the hospital less than 3 miles away. Suddenly, a very different version of events swirled into focus, one depicting Hannah not as a selfless protector, but rather as an impulsive vigilante provoking disaster through reckless misjudgments. Misjudgments that had robbed a loving family of their father forever.
I know he was having a diabetic episode because he don't just run off the scene. I knew he was trying to get to the hospital.
Just pain. I mean, I'm completely heartbroken. I feel like something is missing, and it is missing, and it's Hannah. I just wanted to say that this was an unfortunate situation that, turned out the way it did, but not at the hands of my daughter. It was not her fault.
Hannah Payne was eventually charged with an extensive list of criminal offenses over her actions on that fateful day. The charges ranged from malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and 3 separate firearm possession violations, on top of manslaughter allegations. Her lawyers expressed surprise at the decision to pursue the absolute maximum charges conceivable against Hannah Payne, rather than demonstrate judicious restraint given her youth and lack of any prior criminal record. But prosecutors were dead set on their zero-tolerance approach. In their view, Hannah's irresponsible choice as an untrained civilian to brazenly appoint herself an armed enforcer and pursuant over an innocent motorist represented textbook vigilante, so they wanted to send out a clear message that this wouldn't be tolerated. Despite the grand jury rapidly indicting Hannah Payne on criminal charges shortly after the incident, frustratingly, years would drag on before she would stand trial over the controversial shooting. Her case encountered delay after delay. Everything from the replacement of the lead prosecutor early on, to most significantly, the COVID-19 crisis paralyzing courts nationwide with massive trial backlogs, all contributing to the postponing of justice. Finally, in December 2023, after an excruciating nearly 4-year wait, Hannah Payne finally received an opportunity to plead her case in court.
Could you tell us what happened on that day?
I was on my way home from work, and I was coming up to an intersection where the light had just turned green. As I was getting ready to turn left, there was a semi that was turning right. Someone ran the red light, and I watched him run right into the tractor trailer.
And is that where you called the 911?
It is, yes.
Okay, and then what did you do?
After I got on the phone with 911, I was kind of explaining everything that I saw, and I started to walk over to the truck driver because I noticed that there was someone else who had witnessed it, who pulled off to the side. He told me that he was a state officer. I didn't find out that it was a correctional officer until months later when I found out from you.
But he did show a badge?
He did. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, he didn't pull it off. He just lifted his shirt, and we saw the badge, and then he continued. Well, me and the truck driver were curious because we didn't know what had just happened. It seemed obvious that he ran the red light, so we were asking him if he was okay and if there was something going on, and he said he's okay, but he said he's definitely inebriated.
Are you sure that's the word he used?
I'm positive, because it prompted both me and the truck driver to reply, simultaneously saying, "Do you mean he's drunk?"
Hannah Payne insisted to the court that she believed Kenneth Herring was intoxicated, and that her sole motivation for following him was to get him off the road before he could hurt other innocent drivers. However, prosecutors presented conflicting testimony who disputed Hannah's narrative.
As a part of the autopsy examination, because he had a medical history of diabetes, I conducted a test that helps to look for any evidence of elevated blood sugar. So the comprehensive blood screen at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation tests for all the major and common drugs of abuse, and there are hundreds of different additional drugs that the panel covers. He had a negative comprehensive blood screen.
Hannah also told the court that Kenneth was the one who was aggressive towards her, and that he actually attacked her. But once again, there was evidence to the contrary.
I was walking up to him, and I am explaining that I'm on the phone with the police and that they wanted us to go back to the original accident site. It's loud. We're near an interstate. It's a busy road, and I can't hear what he's saying to me. But as I got closer, I heard him asking me, "Who the F are you?" And I told him that I was nobody, but that I had the police on the phone, and that they wanted us to go back to the original accident site.
And what happened then?
Apparently I was close enough for him to reach out the car, and he knocked my phone out of my hand, and he grabbed me by my wrist, and he pulled me into the vehicle. And at some point my shirt had gotten grabbed. He was pulling my wrist, and he pulled me in the vehicle, and he kept yelling at me, telling me, "I have something for you." And he used, I have something for you, bitch.
She was actually standing at the guy's driver door, yelling, hitting on the window, hitting on the door, whatever she was doing. I ended up pulling out my phone to record. What I mainly remember the most is when I'm riding past, it's just a physical between the two of them, but as far as their arms.
Okay.
And just her yelling. That's pretty much the most part. As I was recording, I heard a gunshot. I ended up getting out to check on the guy after I heard the gunshot.
Blocked him from driving, so he abruptly braked, and then a woman popped out of the car, and she said, "Get the F out the truck," to him a bunch of times, and she pulled out a gun.
The prosecution fiercely maintained that Hannah Payne was an impulsive vigilante who needlessly provoked disaster that day. They said that she had no valid reason or authority whatsoever to aggressively pursue Kenneth Herring over a minor traffic accident. Yet in gravely misguided entitlement, she took the law recklessly into her own hands to dangerously chase down and confront someone posing no direct threat.
And while you were on scene at Clark Howell, you had no issues with Mr. Herring, correct?
No, none.
You never spoke to him directly?
No.
You didn't see any weapons on him?
No.
You never got close to him to smell any odor of alcohol on him?
No, I did not.
And he didn't threaten you in any way?
No, I did not.
And you also testified today that you never heard the 911 dispatch give you a warning not to chase?
No, I never said that. I said that she told me that she wanted me to be safe. And I said that from what I took it as was that she didn't want me to chase. And when I explained to her I wasn't chasing, I was just simply staying with him until a police officer could get to us.
And the 911 dispatch indicated to you approximately 4 times to either not chase Mr. Herring and go back to the scene, correct?
Incorrect. I only heard it one time, and she told me not to chase, to be safe. She never told me to go back to the scene until after I had told her that I was behind him and that she wanted me to be safe. And in doing so, she said that she wanted both of us to go back.
All right, you see on page 1, female caller. Dispatcher tells you, okay, can you get his tag number? Your response, hold on, he's driving away. It's a red Dodge Dakota. Give me 1 second, hold on. Okay, so he is going west down Clark Howell. No, I'm sorry, down Forest Parkway. Dispatcher, okay, so you couldn't get a tag number? Your response, no, but I'm catching up to him right now. And the dispatcher tells you, okay, ma'am, we actually do not want you to chase him. We just want you to be safe. The first time they tell you not to chase him, correct?
She didn't tell me not to. She just said that they didn't want me to because of my safety. At least is the way that I interpreted
Okay,
it.
I'll give you that. So they told you that they do not want you to chase him, correct?
Correct.
And what did you say next? You can read it.
I understand.
Okay. And the dispatcher tells you after that, it's not safe to chase him. Second time, correct?
That's what the transcript guide said. When we're listening to it, I don't remember hearing that, but...
And can you read what your response was?
I understand 100%. I'm just going to get the tag number, if nothing else. But I am going west down Forest Parkway, and I'm almost up to him.
So you told the dispatcher that you understood 100%, correct?
That I needed to be safe, correct.
And the dispatcher states after that, okay, after you provide the tag number, which you provide the tag number before you make contact with Mr. Herring, correct?
Correct.
And once she gets the tag number from you, she tells you, okay, so if you could go back to that location where the incident happened because someone is actually on the way to you guys now. Is that correct?
Correct.
So there should be no confusion that she told both of you to go back to that location.
Well, if you keep, it's not confusion, it's just more to the conversation.
So in the initial incident, your vehicle was not struck, correct?
Correct.
And so there was no reason for you to interject yourself in the final conclusion of what happened with Mr. Herring as far as that incident was concerned.
Well, there's a lot that led up to that. So for me to have interjected myself to begin with was me doing something that I would have wanted someone else to do for me, which was to be a witness for what I thought was an accident.
And you're not post-certified?
No, I'm not.
You're not a police officer?
I'm not.
Nobody deputized you on that day to apprehend anyone?
No, they did not.
And you also stated that you never had any intention of pulling the trigger.
Correct.
So when you told Mr. Herring that you would shoot him, you were just bluffing?
Oh, I wasn't bluffing. I was, as I explained, thinking it was a deterrent, like I would be able to get away.
And you said you had training with this firearm?
Yes.
And in that training, you didn't learn that you don't pull a gun unless you're going to use it?
I learned that you don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're going to use it.
And it was your testimony today in that interview that your finger was on the trigger, correct?
My finger was in the trigger, on the trigger guard, not in the trigger.
After 5 grueling days of dramatic testimonies, the prosecution and defense rested their respective cases. The responsibility now fell fully upon the jury to sift through extensive evidence and testimonies to deliver their ultimate verdict on guilt or innocence. On Tuesday, December 12, 2023, the jury finally came back with a verdict.
Mr. Foreperson, if you would go ahead and read the verdict.
With regard to count 1 as to the offense of malice murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 2 as to the offense of felony murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 3 as to the offense of aggravated assault, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 4 as the offense of felony murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 5 as the offense of false imprisonment, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 6 as to the offense of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 7 as to the offense of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 8 as to the offense of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Respectfully submitted, the 12th day of December 2023.
On December 15, 2023, Hannah Payne was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole for the murder of Kenneth Herring. However, she was also sentenced to an additional consecutive 13 years in prison for associated convictions like assault, false imprisonment, and weapons offenses. This means that Hannah must first finish serving her life sentence before the 13-year sentence kicks in. So if by chance parole is granted for the life sentence, she must then serve the entire extra 13 years before any possibility of release. Hannah Payne has already indicated that she intends to appeal her sentence.